Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is enjoying their day. Please subscribe and like the video before continuing. Y&R spoilers, Audra plays the victim, will Nate buy the latest lies? The Young and the Restless spoilers document that Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver, didn't come clean. She looked Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic, in the eyes and lied. What is this? Audra denied that she agreed to Victor Newman's, Eric Braeden, quid pro quo. However, viewers are aware that she accepted Victor's first payment to fund Vibrante in exchange for trying to get Kyle Abbott, Michael Mealer, to cheat on Claire Newman, Haley Aaron. She openly and repeatedly lied to Nate about accepting Victor's deal and also told the man she claims to love that nothing happened with Kyle in France. Both are provably false statements. Did Kyle Abbott cross a moral line? Those who make themselves see the world in shades of gray could be called shady. However, they would say that there is no right or wrong. These souls would go on to talk about how there is no truth but rather one's truth. Honest analysis would recognize that someone who speaks about their so-called truth intends to mask unprovable opinions as facts because their ego is most important. Of course, facts, like Victor wanting to set Kyle up and Audra accepting his promise of money to do so, are real. Kyle didn't intend to betray Claire, which could be proven true by the actions he took in the south of France on Cain's bizarre estate. Yet, Kyle can't honestly claim to have told Claire the truth because he withheld details about what happened on the train compartment, which is a provable form of lying. Nate Hastings is in a bad place. Nate was at the TAC house when he got a life-changing phone call. He learned that his newfound brother, Damien Kane, Jermaine Rivers, was murdered. Damien's death resulted from Kane's misguided employee, Carter Vincent Stalba, who believed that act would open to path to Lily Winters, Crystal Khalil. Carter, who eliminated himself after admitting to that crime and having killed Chance Chancellor, Connor Floyd, was infinitely wrong. Having to deal with the inexplicable loss of his brother doesn't put Nate in a good place. Audra's need to defend herself through lies is the exact opposite of what he needs at this point in the plot. What is this? Audra Charles can't see straight. Some people don't know how to tell the truth. That's a trait she shares with Kyle. Audra's defensive response, when questioned by Nate, was to turn the conversation back on him. He saw through what she was doing, which led to Audra upping her defense and walking out. Excuses based on childhood or an endless list of modern grievances are spouted by those in this soapy city who lack courage and guts. While there might be a brief period where this couple attempts to reconcile, on Nate's insistence, Audra must eventually admit she was wrong and ask for forgiveness. Otherwise, he won't be able to trust her crooked view of life. This site is a leading source for everything linked to the Young and the Restless. Check back regularly for Y&R spoilers and news. What is this? Y&R spoilers, Audra plays the victim, will Nate buy the latest lies? In Genoa City, deception is an art form, and no one knows how to wield it quite like Audra Charles. The cunning and fiercely ambitious executive has made a name for herself not just by climbing corporate ladders with grace and speed, but also by spinning tales that keep her enemies guessing and her allies second-guessing. With the latest developments unfolding on The Young and the Restless, fans are about to see Audra shift her strategy once again. This time, she may lean fully into the role of the victim, but the biggest question hovering over the storyline is whether Nate Hastings, smart, sophisticated, yet emotionally vulnerable, will buy what Audra is selling. The stakes couldn't be higher, and this twist is set to ripple through several key storylines, dragging the Newmans, Abbotts, and even the Chancellor Winters crowd into the chaos. Audra has proven time and again that her most effective weapon isn't brute force or outright threats, it's manipulation laced with just the right amount of vulnerability. When cornered, she doesn't lash out blindly. Instead, she calculates. She crafts stories that paint her as misunderstood, mistreated, or caught in the crossfire of others' schemes. We've seen her weave narratives to escape consequences, and each time, she's managed to turn at least one doubter into a reluctant believer. Now, with pressure mounting on her career, her relationships, and her tenuous standing in Genoa City, Audra may lean into her most powerful mask yet, the victim. By portraying herself as someone unfairly targeted or betrayed, she might just buy herself enough sympathy to realign her alliances and secure her place. Enter Nate Hastings, a man who knows better but has his own blind spots. Nate's transformation from dedicated doctor to ruthless corporate player has been one of the show's most fascinating arcs. He's smart, strategic, and not easily fooled, but that doesn't mean he's immune to a well-placed lie, especially when emotions are involved. His past decisions have proven that, under the right circumstances, he can be swayed by charm, attraction, or a convincing performance. Audra knows this, and she may see Nate as her perfect mark. If she convinces him that she's being unfairly attacked or misunderstood, Nate could once again find himself standing by a woman whose motives aren't as innocent as they appear. The implications of Nate buying into Audra's story are massive. For one, it would complicate his already fragile reputation. He's been fighting to rebuild trust after betraying his family at Chancellor Winters, and aligning himself with Audra could undo much of that progress. Moreover, if he defends Audra against others, say, against Victor Newman's suspicions or against Devon's growing frustration, Nate could find himself at odds with powerful forces he doesn't want to cross. That kind of misstep could derail his carefully rebuilt path to redemption and plunge him back into a world of mistrust and professional jeopardy. But what if Nate doesn't buy it? That outcome is just as tantalizing. Audra has always thrived when she has a pawn or partner to shield her from the fallout of her schemes. If Nate sees through her lies and refuses to play along, she'll be left exposed in a way we haven't often seen. It could force Audra to either double down with more elaborate fabrications or confront the consequences of her actions head-on. And fans know that when Audra is cornered, she doesn't go down quietly, she fights with all the venom and brilliance she can muster. That kind of pressure cooker could ignite a new rivalry or push her to set her sights on even riskier moves. Beyond the Nate-Audra dynamic, this storyline promises ripple effects throughout Genoa City. The Newmans, always on high alert for anyone threatening their empire, will not take kindly to another schemer trying to manipulate their orbit. Victoria, who's already wary of both Nate and Audra, might seize the opportunity to sever ties once and for all. Nikki could warn her daughter to steer clear, while Victor himself may decide that Audra is either a useful pawn or a dangerous liability. On the Abbott side, Audra's attempts to spin her victim story could also impact Kyle, given their tangled history. If she tries to pull him back into her corner, it could reopen wounds and complicate his already messy love life. Then there's Chancellor Winters, where Audra's lies could find fertile ground, or blow up spectacularly. Devon, Lily, and the rest of the crew have been burned by dishonesty before, and if they sense Audra trying to worm her way back into influence, sparks will fly. On the other hand, if she convinces just one key player, she could re-establish herself as a power player in that world, setting up fresh rivalries and storylines for months to come. For fans, the beauty of this storyline lies in its uncertainty. Audra has pulled off impressive cons before, but the walls are closing in, and her room to maneuver is shrinking. Meanwhile, Nate stands at a crossroads. Does he revert to old patterns, falling for manipulation that could cost him dearly, or does he prove he's learned from his mistakes and refuse to be swayed? The answer to that question could define not just his character's trajectory but also reshape the balance of power in Genoa City. And let's not forget the romantic undertones. Y&R has always thrived on mixing business with pleasure, and Audra knows how to exploit attraction to her advantage. If she leans into her chemistry with Nate, the victim card might not be her only play. She could stir feelings that make him more likely to forgive or believe her, blurring the lines between strategy and sincerity. That tension, whether Nate's head or heart will rule, adds yet another layer of intrigue to the drama. One thing is certain, the coming weeks on The Young and the Restless promise explosive confrontations, shocking revelations, and emotional showdowns. Audra's victim act could either be her masterstroke or her downfall, and Nate's decision will be pivotal. Fans will be glued to their screens, debating every look, every hesitation, and every whispered word between these two characters. Because in Genoa City, lies don't stay buried for long, and the fallout of one falsehood can reshape destinies. So will Nate buy Audra's latest lies? Or will he finally see through the smoke and mirrors to the manipulator beneath? Either way, the drama is about to hit a fever pitch, and Y&R fans wouldn't have it any other way. Y&R spoilers: Nate Hastings is in a bad place. Nate Hastings has always been a man at war with himself. The young and the restless has spent years building him into one of Genoa City's most complex figures, a man caught between duty and desire, honor and ambition, truth and deception. Now, more than ever before, Nate is standing on shaky ground. Fans who have followed his trajectory know that his story has always been about struggle, whether it's the lingering guilt of betraying family, the weight of romantic entanglements gone wrong, or the dangerous allure of corporate power. But the latest spoilers suggest that Nate is heading into a very bad place, and his spiral could shake multiple families across Genoa City. The trouble with Nate is that he wears a polished mask, but underneath, he's more fragile than anyone realizes. Once respected as a brilliant doctor, Nate walked away from medicine and built a reputation as a rising corporate star. But every step of that rise has been tainted by questionable choices, betrayals, and compromises. When he sided against Devon and Lily at Chancellor Winters, he set into motion a domino effect that still lingers in the background of his every interaction. Even though he's tried to earn forgiveness, those wounds are still raw, and the shadow of mistrust follows him wherever he goes. That baggage, combined with his messy romantic history, is threatening to pull him down just as he tries to find his footing. Romantically, Nate has been just as unsteady. His involvement with Victoria Newman elevated him in the corporate world, but it also placed him under Victor's microscope, a dangerous place for any man to be. The end of his romance with Victoria left Nate adrift, stripped of power and affection at once, and that void has left him vulnerable. Enter Audra Charles, a woman whose cunning and ambition rival his own. Their chemistry is undeniable, but Audra is not someone who offers stability. She thrives on risk, manipulation, and control. For Nate, who is already struggling with his sense of identity, getting tangled with her could be like pouring gasoline on an already roaring fire. If he buys into her stories or lets himself be seduced by her lies, he could spiral further into a place of no return. Adding to his troubles is the fact that Nate is caught in the middle of multiple powerful families. The Newmans see him as both a potential asset and a liability, depending on where his loyalty lies. The Abbotts, still wary of anyone who cozies up to the Newmans, have little reason to trust him. Chancellor Winters, a company that should have been his safe haven, still carries the bitterness of his betrayal. That leaves Nate without a true home base. He is a man without an anchor, drifting between worlds, and that lack of security is a recipe for disaster. The biggest question now is what direction Nate will take. Will he embrace the darker side of himself and double down on ambition at all costs? Or will he finally confront his demons, admit his mistakes, and try to make real amends? Spoilers hint that Nate will soon be tested in ways that force him to choose. Audra may tempt him into backing one of her schemes, dangling promises of power and intimacy that he finds hard to resist. At the same time, Devon and Lily could present him with an opportunity to redeem himself, but only if he proves he can be trusted. And if Victor catches even a whiff of weakness in Nate, he could either exploit it or destroy him outright. What makes Nate's bad place so compelling is that it's not just about external drama, it's also internal. Fans can see the cracks in his armor. He wants to be respected, but too often he takes shortcuts that cost him dearly. He craves love, but he sabotages himself by gravitating toward women whose goals don't align with his own. He longs for stability, but his hunger for power keeps pulling him back into chaos. It's a vicious cycle, and unless something changes soon, Nate could hit rock bottom. And yet, soap fans know that hitting bottom can often be the most exciting thing that can happen to a character. If Nate falls far enough, it could open the door for redemption arcs, surprising alliances, or shocking comebacks. Imagine Nate stripped of everything, no company, no lover, no trust, and forced to rebuild himself from the ground up. That kind of journey could re-establish him as a hero in Genoa City, or it could harden him into one of the show's most dangerous villains. For now, though, Nate Hastings is undeniably in a bad place. The tension between his past sins and his future potential has never been sharper. Audra's manipulations, Victoria's lingering influence, Devon and Lily's mistrust, and Victor's watchful eye are all converging on him at once. It's a storm he may not be able to weather. And as longtime viewers know, in Genoa City, when storms like this gather, someone is always left standing in the wreckage while someone else seizes power. The only question left is whether Nate will be the one crushed, or the one who claws his way back stronger than ever. Audra Charles has always been one of Genoa City's most calculating players, but even the sharpest schemers sometimes lose their focus. For months, Audra has made every move with precision, carefully balancing her ambition with her ability to manipulate those around her. She's seduced, lied, charmed, and outmaneuvered her rivals, carving out a place for herself in the business and romantic circles of the young and the restless. But now, cracks are beginning to show, and fans are buzzing with speculation. Spoilers suggest that Audra is no longer thinking clearly, that her hunger for control and fear of exposure have clouded her judgment. In other words, Audra Charles can't see straight, and this weakness could be her undoing. When Audra first arrived in Genoa City, she was a woman with a plan. A mix of ambition and charm, she had her eyes on power positions and powerful men, never shying away from bending the truth to get what she wanted. Her corporate maneuvers at Newman Media and Chancellor Winters cemented her as a woman to watch, and her romantic ties to men like Noah Newman, Kyle Abbott, and Nate Hastings gave her even more leverage. But all of those entanglements have left her vulnerable. Instead of being the puppet master she once was, Audra now finds herself pulled in too many directions at once. Part of the problem is Nate Hastings himself. Nate, who has been struggling with his own demons, is a dangerous ally for Audra. She sees him as someone who can help secure her standing in Genoa City, but his history of betrayal and his current instability make him a liability. Still, Audra's attraction to Nate and her desire to use him as both a shield and a weapon have clouded her judgment. Normally sharp enough to cut her losses, Audra is instead clinging to Nate in ways that could come back to haunt her. It's almost as if she's wearing blinders, unable to see how toxic this pairing could become for both of them. And then there's Kyle Abbott. The tension between Audra and Kyle has always been electric, but their relationship has been just as volatile. Kyle knows firsthand what Audra is capable of, and yet, there's always that spark that threatens to pull him back in. For Audra, Kyle represents unfinished business, an opportunity for passion, but also a reminder of her failures. In trying to juggle both Nate and Kyle while maintaining her professional ambitions, Audra risks exposing herself as reckless rather than strategic. Fans have noticed that instead of playing the long game, Audra seems to be chasing short-term wins, a dangerous shift for someone who built her power on patience and control. Her professional world is no less chaotic. Victor Newman, always a looming presence, is not someone Audra can manipulate easily. If Victor sees that Audra is distracted or losing focus, he will pounce, using her as a pawn in his broader schemes. Victoria Newman, who has already clashed with both Nate and Audra, has zero tolerance for anyone she perceives as a threat. And over at Chancellor Winters, Devon and Lily have no love for Audra after her betrayals. She's essentially surrounded on all sides by people who don't trust her, and without a clear strategy, she could find herself outmaneuvered by rivals who see her recent missteps as opportunities. What's most interesting about Audra's current state is that she's showing something rare, vulnerability. For so long, Audra has been untouchable, cool, and collected even when chaos swirled around her. But now, with her personal and professional lives colliding, she's no longer seeing situations as clearly as she once did. She's letting emotions dictate her decisions, whether it's her attraction to Nate, her unfinished business with Kyle, or her need to prove herself in a city that still sees her as an outsider. This inability to focus could be the very thing her enemies use to bring her down. And yet, fans know Audra is a survivor. Even when she stumbles, she tends to find a way to land on her feet. The question is, will this be the moment she learns from her mistakes, or will she double down, making riskier choices that push her even further into dangerous territory? If Audra can't regain her clarity soon, she could be setting herself up for devastating consequences. But if she does manage to recalibrate, she could turn this period of weakness into an opportunity, perhaps by surprising everyone with a bold move that shifts the power dynamic in her favor. The coming weeks on The Young and the Restless are sure to test Audra in ways she's never been tested before. With Nate spiraling, Kyle hovering, the Newmans circling, and Chancellor Winters watching closely, she has little room for error. One wrong move could end her run as a power player, while one brilliant comeback could cement her as one of Genoa City's most formidable women. But right now, the truth is unavoidable. Audra Charles can't see straight, and in a town where perception is everything, that might be the deadliest weakness of all. Did Kyle Abbott cross a moral line? The Young and the Restless has always thrived on drama, deception, and dilemmas that keep viewers glued to their screens, and Kyle Abbott is no stranger to crossing lines that blur morality and loyalty. The Genoa City heir, caught between ambition, family loyalty, and personal passion, is once again making headlines for choices that could either elevate him to new levels of power or destroy his relationships in devastating fashion. Fans are asking, did Kyle Abbott just cross a moral line from which there may be no return? The conversation about Kyle has heated up as his latest decisions place him at the center of betrayal, secrets, and shifting alliances. His actions aren't just affecting him, they're rippling through the lives of the Abbotts, the Newmans, and even Audra Charles, who knows exactly how to exploit Kyle's vulnerabilities. At the core of Kyle's story is the question of whether his choices are born from survival instincts, manipulation, or a desire to prove himself outside his father's shadow. The Abbott legacy is both a blessing and a curse, and Kyle's determination to carve his own path may be leading him down darker roads. Jack Abbott has always taught his son about honor and business ethics, but Kyle has struggled with walking the fine line between morality and ambition. This isn't the first time Kyle has been accused of betrayal. From his complicated relationship with Summer Newman to his tryst with Audra Charles, Kyle has shown that his impulses can often override his better judgment. But this time, it feels different. Fans can sense that Kyle's recent choices are less about passion and more about calculated risks with massive consequences. His willingness to partner with questionable allies raises eyebrows, as loyalty to family no longer seems like his top priority. In many ways, Kyle's situation mirrors Jack's past mistakes, when the lines between personal and professional blurred, and the Abbotts paid the price. But Kyle isn't Jack. His desperation to prove himself as a power player in Genoa City could push him into dangerous territory where no amount of Abbott influence can shield him. The heart of the drama lies in Kyle's shifting alliances. His connection to Audra Charles has fans divided. Is she manipulating him, or is he willingly complicit in her schemes? Some argue Kyle has become Audra's pawn, unable to see her true intentions, while others believe he's far more aware than he lets on and is using her as much as she's using him. Either way, the chemistry between them has created waves not just in the business world but in Kyle's personal life. Summer Newman, his ex-wife and the mother of his child, remains deeply affected by his choices. Many fans believe Kyle has betrayed Summer far beyond their failed marriage by entangling himself with someone like Audra, whose ambitions are notorious. This isn't about a fling anymore, it's about a man willing to sacrifice trust for opportunity. In the business arena, Kyle's moves could shift Genoa City's power balance. By aligning himself with players who lack integrity, Kyle risks tarnishing the Abbott reputation that his grandfather and father worked so hard to build. Jabot's legacy is at stake, and Kyle's decisions could hand over influence to outsiders who have no loyalty to the family company. Viewers are beginning to question if Kyle even sees the long-term fallout or if he's blinded by the lure of immediate gratification. Beyond business, Kyle's moral compass is under scrutiny because his actions are deeply personal. He's not just risking his professional standing but also the trust of those closest to him. Harrison, his young son, is often cited by fans as a reason Kyle should think twice before making reckless choices. Can a man who jeopardizes stability for ambition truly claim to be putting family first? That question is at the heart of the debate about Kyle's morality. For some, Kyle's actions can be defended as survival tactics. Living under the shadow of Victor Newman's ruthlessness and Jack Abbott's dominance means Kyle has to make bold moves to carve his place. But others see it differently, arguing that Kyle's willingness to compromise values reveals a dangerous side of him that could reshape his character for years to come. The debate also touches on generational themes. Jack, Ashley, and Billy have all faced moral dilemmas, but each had moments of redemption that balanced their flaws. Kyle's trajectory seems different. Fans wonder if his story is one of redemption or of downfall. Has he crossed into territory that no longer makes him sympathetic, or will viewers rally behind him as a flawed man trying to survive in a cutthroat world? What makes Kyle's situation even more intriguing is the ripple effect. His decisions don't happen in isolation, they spark responses from powerful figures across Genoa City. Jack's disappointment is almost inevitable, and Ashley could seize on Kyle's missteps to strengthen her own position within Jabot. Meanwhile, Audra may tighten her hold on Kyle, making it even harder for him to extract himself from the web he's entangled in. The question of morality is layered here. Did Kyle cross a line by betraying family trust? Did he cross it by involving himself with someone as dangerous as Audra? Or is the real issue that Kyle is losing himself in the process, turning into a man who no longer recognizes the values he once stood for? The emotional fallout of Kyle's choices is just beginning to unravel. Fans are bracing for confrontations, betrayals, and emotional breakdowns as Kyle struggles with the consequences of his decisions. Summer's heartbreak, Jack's disappointment, and Audra's manipulations will collide in a storyline that challenges the very definition of morality in Genoa City. In the end, the debate may not be about whether Kyle Abbott crossed a moral line, it may be about how far past that line he's willing to go before he loses everything.